Jump in the back of the pickup truck and join us for a ride back to the good old days.
Are you telling me you built a time machine?
A nostalgic podcast based on entertainment and memories from the 70s, 80s, and early 90s. Come with us and revisit the best time ever. So jump on your BMX bike, pop a heavy metal tape into your Walkman, and hang on tight while you go back to the past with us.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Hello all, welcome to Pastimes at 80s High. Got a great one for you today. We are going to do our favorite albums released in 1981. This is our first in-person podcast. I have Donnie, Kevin, and my brother Mark here. Donnie, how you doing today?
I'm doing very well, thank you.
Lovely. And Kev?
Doing great.
Awesome. And my brother?
Friggin' amazing.
Awesome. So I think this will be a fun one. Most of us did our homework. And as always, we are going to start our decade series off with just a quick little news tidbit from that year. So I'll start out with March 27th, 1981, where Ozzy Osbourne bites the head off a dove at a CBS record label gathering in Los Angeles, which, of course, shocked everyone in the studio. And Donald, to you.
All right, mine is on August 1st, 1981, MTV started its first 24 hours per day music kind of cast, and it was Video Killed the Radio Star.
Oh,
it was the first video.
Nice. And boy, did that live in our houses for years, man. Kevin, you.
Right. 30 days later, I got off the couch. September 11th, 1981, Iron Maiden fires the lead singer Paul Di'Anno. They hired Bruce from Samson, also known as Bruce Dickinson, to replace him on the 26th of September. And it was, I believe, on the 26th of October, just a month later, he did his first show with them in Italy and finished out the last 7 gigs from that tour, the Killer World Tour.
Unbelievable.
So not a lot of time to learn all those songs, but man, he has held the torch ever since.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, brother, to you.
On April 11th of that year, 1981, the great guitar player from Van Halen, Eddie Van Halen, married Valerie Bertinelli from One Day at a Time, and they stayed married for a long time.
They did indeed. Awesome. We're just going to start off right out of the gate here. We typically do a top 7. It's kind of our staple. My favorite number always has been. Everyone's favorite number probably. But anyway, just to make it a little different, when we decided to do the Decades albums, we're going to do 10 of them just because it's so friggin' hard. But anyway, so Kevin, you drew the straw here, so we're going to start with you today. What do you got going on?
Well, I just wanted to start by saying that it was kind of an interesting year, 1981. It was kind of in between. There was a lot of styles that were kind of, and artists that were waning and kind of not doing their best work, but just putting something out. And there were others that were not quite to their peak yet, they were on their way. So there was a lot of stuff in between. Not a great amount of albums that year, but definitely some great albums that year.
Absolutely.
And I wanted to start it off with, wasn't a huge fan, but if you look at the body of his work up until the certain video, the guy was pretty incredible
Billy
and
Squier.
had some great stuff.
Yeah.
Exactly. So my first pick would be "Don't Say No" by Billy Squier, which you got The Stroke. Come on, My Kind of Lover, In the Dark, Lonely as the Night, which is an amazing riff.
That's a great song.
What a great riff that is. But yes, the man, sadly, his career disappeared.
Could you explain what happened on that?
So it was "Rock Me Tonight," I believe, was the song. That was a little later on. For some reason, and I don't know how it got past everybody in his entourage, all the producers or whatever, they had him dancing around quite effeminately in a pink sleeveless shirt or sweatshirt in a breezy apartment with neon lights, and it just was like everybody just kind of went, what the fuck is that? And literally, I've seen interviews with him now where he was like, I had stadiums sold out and booked, and people just kept canceling. It was that fast. As much as MTV made people's careers, I'm looking at you, Buggles, and a few other bands that we know probably wouldn't have had the exposure without it. But at the same time, they shut his career off like a switch. It was like, goodbye, done,
Destroyed.
over. Yeah,
Destroyed. Great pick. Such a great artist. His previous band too, Piper. Don't know if you had ever heard any of that, but that was pretty amazing too.
nice.
Awesome. Great pick. All right. Brother, that goes to you.
All right. My number 10 is the number 3 part in the trilogy of Bob Dylan's phase when he was a born-again Christian. The name of the record is Shot of Love. It spoke to me at the time in my life. This is back when Mom and Dad were doing this kind of thing. And, Shot of Love is a great song. Property of Jesus. Lenny Bruce is a great song. And that's about the comedian.
Yeah.
And in the summertime is another good one. It's just back then I'd listen to it over and over again, and it made me feel better. I mean, I don't really know how much else to say about this record.
Yeah.
I just saw it on the list, and I remember listening to it.
You remember it friggin' meaning something to you.
It meant a lot to me at the time.
Absolutely.
And then the next record, I think it was Infidels, and he went into a Jewish state, if you will.
Mr. Zimmerman went into a Jewish state. I mean,
Yes. Oh, is that his real name?
his real name is Bob Zimmerman. Yes.
Well, no, he's gone through a lot of different.
Oh, yes, he has.
And he never could write lyrics, to be honest with you. But his voice, though, I could just listen to him croon all day.
I was always amazed at the change between like Lay Lady Lay to, I don't know, Rainy Day Women or something like that. He went from like crooning on Lay Lady Lay.
Actually, he sounded pretty good back
Yeah, he
then.
actually sounded like a singer to
I don't know what happened. I don't know.
They blame it on the motorcycle accident, which might also have been a heroin addiction. We don't know. we can't prove or disprove any of that.
But yeah, that's
But an
again, it
icon.
meant something to me at the time when it came out, and
Damn right.
it was.
Well, that's kind of my number 10 too. Just has special meaning to me. It's kind of a little bit of a guilty pleasure, and I can still hear the squeakiness in the voice of, please, please tell me now. But it's Duran Duran, their self-titled debut album. I really loved this band through a lot of albums, actually, but this was the start of it. Girls on Film.
Yeah.
I can still see the video.
Of
and
course.
What a ridiculous video. They got this fat
Welcome to the
sumo
80s.
wrestler, a girl rubbing him down. It's a little disturbing, actually, if I may say. But anyway, I wanted to start with them because later on, I just absolutely friggin' loved this band. I don't have a lot to say about this album, but just the fact that it was a guilty pleasure
I like-
because you and David would have beat me up. if you
Actually,
knew
AJ,
liked
I
it.
loved Duran Duran back in the 80s.
Well, I wouldn't have known that because I wasn't allowed to like anything other than Kiss.
Now, that's probably more Dave than me, or was it me too?
That was a little bit of both.
All right.
Definitely more David. But
Yeah.
All right, Donald. So to you for number 10.
All right. For my number 10 is a band that just kind of was 80s to me. It signified the 80s, and it's Jay Giles and Freeze Frame from October 26, 1981.
Awesome.
Just a, classic 80s style genre of music. Kind of poppy, kind of, not really rocking per se, but definitely something you can sing along to and dance to and chase girls after and that kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Right.
Perfect.
Interesting, though, because that was, again, where I was talking about transitional. I mean, Jay Giles was a straight up blues band
Right.
with a harp player until that album. And then,
Yeah, they almost felt like they had to jump on the 80s bandwagon.
But they did it well, though.
Yeah,
That's the thing. I mean, everything from freeze frame to centerfold to my personal favorite from that one, Piss on the Wall, which was just a great fucking song.
Number 9 to you, Kevin.
Number 9?
Number 9.
Number 9.
Number
We all
9.
had to.
Well, I'm here to tell you that number 9 is number 4. And that would be Foreigner 4, which was one of those albums. And you guys were talking about, well, this album meant a lot to me. And that I thought about the albums that were like massive at that time. And I'm like, maybe I'm not going to do those and whatever else. And I remembered, I was like listening to Foreigner 4 again for the first time in I don't know how long. And I was like, every song, even those deep cuts that most of us have probably, I had forgotten, like Woman in Black. I was Girl on the Moon. I was like, holy shit, these songs they were present in my life at that time back when life was good.
Right.
But also unavoidable. Jukebox Hero. I mean, nobody ever played that in 1981. That song was like,
Very underplayed.
Other than every second of every day. Break it up, waiting for a girl like you. I mean, come on.
No. I mean, that album is it's a staple.
Absolutely.
Awesome pick. So that's number 9 to you, brother.
Okay, I have Styx Paradise Theater. That was huge back then. It kind of was the year before me that I graduated. That was like their theme record. I mean, Rockin' the Paradise is probably one of the better songs on it.
Yeah.
Best of Times. They had like a little intro part of that they played before they actually did the song later in the record. And then Too Much Time in My Hands. There was a line in that pretty much typified my life at the time. Okay, this is Guilford, New Hampshire. Okay, we're talking Guilford, New Hampshire. I have dozens of friends and the fun never ends. That as long as I'm buying. That typified my life. Oh, this is awesome. I'm making $3 an hour somewhere, and I have to buy the beer. That was bullshit.
See, I related to, I've been sitting on this bar stool talking like a damn fool. I mean, that was the line that struck home for me.
Well, yeah, that was all there too. But but anyway, that was just a huge record that year.
Yeah.
Not as big as some of the other ones I'm going to talk about later on.
All right.
But that's my number 9.
All right. Good pick again. My number 9, just back to that real quick, though, I wanted to mention David's band, Why Not, used to do that song.
Yes, I know.
Which is why it really clicked with me, too. Yeah. But to my number 9, I have Judas Priest, Point of Entry. I have to admit, I did not get into this band until much later in my life. But this band being stuck between British Steel and Screaming of Vengeance, I mean, how do you do something that good? And I think they did. It's not as highly rated as the others, but I mean, God, this album, just really, really Heading Out to the Highway, Desert Plains, incredible. Rob Halford's voice, I don't know how I overlooked it for so long. Once again, I think it had to do with the Kiss bias, but thank God I found them and went back and started listening because they're just unreal.
Yeah, the way that KK Downing and Glenn Tipton played off each other.
I read a book from KK Downing.
Yeah. Those guys were awesome. And I, on the other hand, was a huge fan right from the early stuff, Sad Wings of Destiny, the stuff that was a little bit more dramatic, a little bit more operatic, I guess, with Halford's voice, right up through, what was it, Turbo
is when they sold out.
That's when I was just like, okay,
Big Al used to love that song. I'm your Turbo Al. You will fuck me now.
Judas Priest. Hey, get it?
There you go.
That was a great pun. Awesome. All right, Donald, to you then.
Well, my number 9 is also going to be Styx Paradise Theater, and I think we kind of talked about most of the talking points on that. And mine too was David's band and us running the lights for that. Trying to if you could see what we're doing, like pushing buttons.
There was 8 buttons on the light board. 8 buttons.
Yeah, it wasn't a very sophisticated light board.
Hell no.
But we tried to make it
a professional show. And
Like
we
we
did
were at the-
damn friggin' good.
The
too,
Centrum.
Donnie.
Yeah.
Didn't you?
Yeah, we did do good.
I was wondered, where did you go to school? I would look at the light guy and be like, what is his background? How did he get
Right.
And I guess the key was being one of the band members' younger brothers or girlfriend. Was,
Just in the right
that
place
was
at
that
the
was a
right time.
qualification.
Yeah.
I didn't have either of those qualifications, so
Right now,
never
it's
got to
all
be the light guy.
digital, and
Yeah, right.
It's all figured into one fucking laptop, and 90% of the time, the laptop also has the lead vocals and some of the guitars in it,
Yeah, right.
unfortunately. But anyway, I won't go there. All right, so that's number 8 to you, Kev.
All right, from my number 8, I picked a band that has just changed and morphed and created genres and just been great all along the way. I know you guys could never relate to this, but there were two brothers that used to fight quite a bit, sometimes on stage, and
No idea.
knock each other out.
yeah.
I am, of course, talking about "Give the People What They Want" by the Kinks.
Oh,
Yes.
Just a great album. Again, it kind of goes back to some of the early stuff that they did that really was kind of foreshadowed what punk was, I thought, with Around the Dial, talking about the DJ that wasn't the corporate guy that went missing and why, but definitely had some punk overtones to that, as some of their early stuff as well, that I don't think they ever get the credit for that kind of the punk approach, the punk attitude
Yeah,
came
the
from a lot of
layover from that, absolutely.
right. But some of their early stuff as well. I mean, you really got me. Most of us really knew from Van Halen covering it, as well as my brain's not going to work. The other one that Van Halen did.
Where have all the good times
Where have all
gone?
the good times gone? Yes, the Kinks. Where have all the good times gone? Was another
Awesome,
great.
awesome song.
It almost had that kind of that punk kind of approach of the simplicity and the loud and all of that.
Awesome pick. All right, Mark, number 8 to you.
I have Jefferson Starship, Modern Times. Do you guys remember them? They were Jefferson Airplane, then they turned
course.
to Jefferson Starship, and then they just went simply to Starship.
Yep.
One of my favorite songs of all time is Find Your Way Back.
Actually,
And another great
song.
song,
Yeah.
Strangers from that record. Me and Big Al went to a concert in Manchester, and we just went to shows back in the day because, it's close.
Right.
And we can go down to Manchester, enjoy a show. I mean,
Was that on the river or was
Yes.
it? Yeah.
I went to Hall & Oates, Rick Springfield.
Yeah.
I
don't know why they stopped doing that.
because they got a venue, I guess. But
Yeah.
anyway, I had the best time of my life in a concert, and I'm like, these guys, all these great songs, I didn't even know were them.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
And they're
Yeah.
a great band.
Yeah.
They're tight as hell.
One of the things, I mean, I was never a huge Jefferson Starship, Airplane, Starship fan, but definitely that was like Find Your Way Back.
What a great song.
Was a great song. And is Mickey Thomas, is that the lead
The lead singer on that one.
Right.
Yeah, if you look at the video, I mean, it looks kind of cheesy. I mean, he's sitting
yeah.
there dressed in, I don't know.
They all did.
Like he's at a wedding or something.
I mean,
but-
it wasn't We Built This City, so it could,
Yeah.
that put the bar pretty low. But no, a lot of people don't realize that he was the lead singer on Fooled Around and Fell in Love by, God, I should have turned my brain on this morning.
Yeah.
Elvin Bishop.
He shoveled a lot of snow yesterday.
Yeah. No, that's,
Yeah,
I
right.
think that, and this morning. But yeah, Elvin Bishop's Fooled Around and Fell in Love, which everybody knows. It was, I think, recently in Guardians of the Galaxy. I think it was in that. But that's
on his
Mickey
tape,
Thomas
yeah.
singing before he joined up with Starship.
Okay.
That was him.
Nice. I love going back and discovering new stuff, too. Like
Well, I mean,
that, so.
that whole concert.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
that's
say
what I
turn
mean.
your brain. I can't even remember yesterday. So, I mean, going back to the 80s, I can barely. So, I mean, your brain is working far better than
Yeah.
mine.
I mean, I'm
Mine's
17
Very,
years old.
very kind of you to say, Donald.
Yeah.
I turned 17 in 81, so
Yeah.
I was a little more advanced.
Yeah.
I'm actually a little opposite from that. It's weird because I'll forget what I'm saying mid-sentence. And
Yes.
I can't
Oh, I do that
remember.
all the time.
But I can remember a lot from when I was a kid, and I don't know.
I can
Which I'd
remember
rather, if
1981
I'm
a
honest.
heck of a lot better than I can remember an hour ago.
Exactly. All right. So that's number 8 to me. And yes, this is one of my favorite albums. of this year, mind you, not from the band. And I have it at number 8 because what I have above this, I just could not rightfully put it above any of the other albums. But it's Kiss, Music from the Elder. As I've already said many times, I'm a massive, massive Kiss nerd. And this album, although it was very polarizing, a concept album, which I still can't, get out of the songs, but they actually re-released it in the order that it was supposed to come out in. And originally they were like, we need a heavy song to start this off with. And that was The Oath. And I love that song. I love Dark Light, which is Ace's track on that. Under the Rose, Mr. Blackwell, like all those songs, always made me feel very like powerful. Like, yes, I fucking believe in me. And
You've always been pretty selfish, so I'm joking, AJ.
guy.
Yeah, but you just kept saying I. It's the name of the song.
Yeah. But anyway, I love that album, but I just could not go above number 8 with it. No way. But all right, Donald, number 7 to you. It's Donnie's birthday, by
8.
the way.
Oh, thank
today.
you.
Donnie,
And I'm on
Donnie's
8. Yeah.
Oh, you're on 8. I
8.
apologize.
Yes.
See,
No,
they
thank
just
you.
They go past it.
So this might be lower than people might put this album at, but I've just never was a huge fan of them. But this is probably one of my favorite album arts of all time, and that's going to be the Stones' Tattoo You, which was released on August 24th, 1981. Start Me Up is one of the classic tunes that the Stones ever cut. Awesome. Like I said, the album art was what kind of grabbed me to that, but...
Was it
being
the
a tattooed person?
Was it the tattooed face or was it the horse's hoof and the high heels?
the tattooed face? Yeah,
I always, as a young man, having that album, I always thought, what is that? What does that mean? what are they trying to say here?
I mean, they're amazing musicians. It's just I never was a huge Stones fan, but I do like their songs.
Yeah.
It's just-
I mean, how
Yeah.
can you not?
Yeah.
I mean, some of them, Sympathy for the Devil. Holy
Yeah.
shit. Just
Amazing.
a lot of well-written music
Yeah.
from the Stones. I mean, that's why
But just
they're
my
in their
age,
80s still
yeah.
touring.
Street Fight Man.
They were
That's one of my
too
favorite
mature for
Stone
me at
songs.
that time when I was just a wee little lad.
Awesome. That brings us to number 7 now, correct? Am I right now?
You are correct.
I believe that is 7.
7 to
And
you,
I'm
Kev.
having a little malfunction, but number 7 for me, again, just highlights the diversity in the music that we had available to us at that time. The Stray Cats album was, I mean, it was 50s rockabilly.
Yeah.
In the middle of, now you've got Duran Duran, and I don't want to name too many other bands because they may be coming up, but you still had punk going on. New Wave was coming,
They were huge
Into-
very briefly, but they were huge.
Yeah.
they were absolutely huge. And it was just like, can you imagine in today's world something being that far out? I mean, everything that is released these days, and I can't listen to much of it, it's like pigeonholed. They've taken over the industry,
Right.
and the executives are like, you need to sound like this, or you
yeah,
won't get
I
any
know.
airplay. And the Stray Cats were just like, yeah, fuck all that, we're gonna do this.
They could have.
Right,
They would have
did their
fit.
thing. Yeah.
They would have fit right in with the 50s, probably. Or
Oh,
early
absolutely, yeah. I mean, their look, their style. I mean, the upright bass and just.
Oh, yeah, I remember
the
that.
the drummer just, he had a hi-hat, a snare, and a kick, and he stood up playing it. I mean, it was just they were an incredible band, and Brian Setzer has gone on to do amazing stuff with more of a big band kind of feel
Right.
that doesn't get it doesn't get the airplay, but it was definitely, I mean, he's one hell of a musician. And,
Glenn Miller-esque.
yes. And those guys were just great. And again, it was just, it's people are working, Human League has got synthesizers and it's, all this other stuff. And they're like, yeah, let's just go back to this, a big hollow bodied Gibson and an upright bass and a snare
bass.
drum.
Yeah.
So
Love the
definitely
Awesome.
cool.
Okay. So let's see. Number 7 to you, Mark.
Okay, I have Def Leppard, High and Dry.
Yes.
This record, okay, they're at this point, we talked about mid-card earlier, right? And in our last...
that was a different cast.
That was the side cast. And they were pretty much mid-card at best at this point. This record was their stepping stone to absolutely going just through the roof in popularity.
In the UK, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, Let It Go, Bringing on the Heartbreak, High and Dry. I mean, they were ready to explode, and this.
What a great album!
Yeah, and personally, I like this record and the next one they did, which we will get into whenever we do that cast. But I like this stuff a lot better than their huge record with Pour Some Sugar on Me and all that stuff.
Oh yeah.
So I mean, I again, they just were ready to explode, and it's really neat to look at stuff right before that, you know?
Right.
Oh yeah. They got way too polished later in Hysteria,
But that,
which you were
that
talking
happens
about.
to a lot of
but-
bands.
And you wonder if it was because of the drummer's accident.
Right.
It had a lot to
were they,
do with
were
that.
they kind of like
There was a
forced to do that?
Absolutely. I think there was a lot of that, but I think I'd read that there was a lot of problems with producing, like Jim Steinman, who did Bat Out of Hell with Meatloaf and a couple albums after that as well. They brought him in to produce, and he had no idea what he was doing, and it is in their genre. So they lost a lot of time. But the thing that always struck me is how cool is that those guys waited.
Fucking waited.
Pyromania, they were on top of the fucking world.
That's
Probably
when-
my
And then
favorite
Rick
album.
Allen loses his arm, and instead of just hiring another drummer, we're going to finish the album. And when I mean,
Nowadays they would have done that.
Oh,
They wouldn't even
absolutely.
go 2 days
But how-
without going back.
right?
On tour.
How do you go? Well, the drummer lost his arm, so what do we do?
Right.
Well, let's wait until we can use technology so that he can play drums again. I mean that. Amazing. I mean, you can say what you want about that band. I wish
yeah.
Phil Collin would put a shirt on. It's kind of creepy at this age. But in all reality, you got to hand it to those guys too.
Yeah, I mean,
You know
Paul
what I mean?
Stanley would have done the same thing. I mean, if Eric Carr lost an arm, he would have still been in the band.
Done like the Who and grab somebody from the audience to finish the show.
Yeah,
Exactly. Well, Def Leppard clearly really fucked up after High and Dry because they did 2 albums that went diamond. So
Yeah,
you
right.
can't really.
yeah, and that the second one that I was speaking of, I don't hate the record.
Pyromania, you're talking about.
No,
Hysteria. Right?
Oh, no. He was
Pyromania is the one with Foolin'
Rock of Ages.
Yeah.
Photograph.
Yes,
There's not a
yeah.
bad cut on that album,
No,
in my
no.
opinion.
and
No,
the next
I
one
agree.
was the
Hysteria. It was the following.
that's with Pour Some Sugar on
Yeah,
Me. and
exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
a lot of great hits on it, and that what they did for that guy just absolutely is touching and,
Oh yeah.
and just so classy.
Yeah.
Especially in an industry where you know that the executives were like, you guys got to go. You got to go. You got to make this album. You got to go. Because there's so many. You read about so many people that were like have a small bit of diversity in their life or their band. And I mean, I mentioned Steinman. Steinman after Bat Out of Hell, Meatloaf got a little bit road weary, got a little bit into drugs, wanted to be an actor. He did the movie Roadie and whatever else, and he couldn't sing. He lost his voice. So Steinman actually put the album out doing the vocals himself, and it was terrible.
Right.
But
Exactly.
he had no choice because the record company was like, you need to do this. We don't care that you don't have the singer, the guy whose name is the band, Meatloaf. You need to
Right.
do an album because you owe us. Do it.
Exactly.
Do it.
And that's, of course, back when record sales were a thing. I
Yeah,
mean,
right.
that's how they
now
made
it's
their
all
money
what
back
concert
then.
sales. And
Now
what-
it's all touring and meet and greets, which I
Right.
friggin' hate, but that's another story. All right, that brings me to my number 7, which this album, it's Escape from Journey. Okay, July 17th. What can I say about this album? It's just so many classic songs that you hear every day on the radio. Most of them, of course, I'm thoroughly burnt out on and never need to hear again. But you just can't deny the talent, the songwriting. I mean, Perry's voice is just, to me, still one of the greatest vocalists of
without a doubt.
Got a
all
raw deal too.
time, and they're still going, with this new guy, and he's not new anymore. He's been 25 years,
Yeah.
right? But just I mean, that's all I can say. It's just friggin' huge vocals, huge everything, and I love that album.
Right. And that's interesting contrast to what we were just saying about Def Leppard is that originally I think Perry broke his hip or something and needed a surgery and kept putting it off and finally they were just like, yeah, we're done.
We need another singer.
Yeah, we need somebody else. We're all set with you. The great thing about that album is there are songs on it that are awesome that weren't bludgeoned to death. Stone in Love is just fantastic.
Oh,
It's a
yeah.
great song.
It's a great album. So number 7 to you then, Don.
My
Logo?
number 7, and this is the curse of being the last, is Def Leppard High and Dry. So I won't beat that dead horse that we've already.
All right.
But bringing on the heartbreak is just I'm a sucker for the number one song,
The
kind of
power
thing.
ballads. Absolutely.
That's a great tune.
Yeah.
All right. So then number 6 to you, Kev.
All right, now we're getting repetitive here because my number 6 is the Rolling Stones' Tattoo You, which Donald had already picked. That was one of those albums that, again, even though it was like everywhere and Bill Gates ruined Start Me Up with their, I can only see him and his goofy friends.
You will
dancing
eat the bugs.
I will not eat the bugs. Dancing to that, but it was an album that I had and listened to, so it kind of became part of the soundtrack of my life. And again, more of those songs that didn't get played on the radio are why I love it. Hang Fire, Neighbors, Little TNA. I mean, just great songs. And the fact that it was, they had already had an amazing career. They had already released, like you said, Sympathy for the Devil.
Right.
Yeah.
Can't You Hear Me Knocking? And again, going from being that blues band and innovator to still being relevant in a techno 80s kind of world was just crazy. And I say I put Waiting on a Friend up against
That's a great song.
any kind of,
Yeah.
I don't know if you would call that a ballad or what, but
Yeah, it's just
just-
like a
just a
chill
fantastic-
tune. Yeah,
yeah.
just like a relax and
Yeah, and there's a video that's absolutely hilarious because it's just them walking down the street in New York and going to a pub, and they're obviously, Ronnie Wood's Ronnie Wood and Keith is Keith, and
Right.
So I did ask my mother what TNA was because I didn't know. I remember asking her, I'm like, what is TNA?
I don't know.
Never mind.
It's a wrestling.
Right.
It's a wrestling
Yeah.
company.
Yeah.
It actually is.
so how did your mother field that question,
That was
Don?
pretty good. I don't think she actually answered it.
She did. Well, depending on how
yeah.
old you were.
Yeah, I was pretty.
I
81.
believe it's been a while. I believe the
9.
answer's there in the lyrics. I think it is.
Yeah.
Too funny.
Yep.
Okay. So number 6 to you, Mark.
Okay, I have no problem with this at number 6. It's Kiss, Music from the Elder. At this point, they're coming off. AJ loved Unmasked. They're coming off Dynasty and Unmasked, and we're worried that they're going south here. Peter Criss has left the band, or he's been asked to leave. To me, I was just so excited that it wasn't another attempt at disco type music.
Right.
And I absolutely love a lot of this record. A lot of it isn't so good, but Dark Light, which originally was Don't Run.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Lou Reed, had to come in and write different lyrics. I'm not sure if I'm getting that accurate, but the solo on that song is incredible.
So his fastest solo ever, I think.
It's fastest solo, and if I recall, there's no back end rhythm to play at. It's and two of my favorite songs of all time, back to back, and the way they meld into each other, it's just very gothic, is Only You and Under the Rose.
Yeah.
And just, one of the most romantic nights I ever had was dancing with my now wife to those two songs, and she was loving it. And it's a very unique record. Ace Frehley used to say it's not a bad record, it's just not a great Kiss record, or a terrible Kiss record. whatever that means. Another song I liked is World Without Heroes because I like the solo.
That's a great song.
Yeah,
Right.
Paul can actually do some pretty cool solos,
Yeah, that's a Paul solo.
and they're tasteful. I mean, what I didn't like in concert was that stupid solo he used to do.
That's what Donnie was doing. That Joe Schmo could have played.
Oh my God.
It was terrible.
But that record, I love the record. It hurts me when I hear people put it down sometimes because I enjoyed it so much. But I mean,
including fucking Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons. Paul despises the album, and it's like, you know what? You didn't hate it when it came out when you were telling us it's the greatest thing you've ever made.
Exactly.
So,
and this is the one record that they did not go out in support of out on tour. They played a show on Fridays, I think was it.
Yep. Classic video from back then.
But this is Ace Frehley's last record with Kiss for a long time. And you know what?
Even though he was on the cover of
Creatures of the Night. Okay, but
he was not there.
And, well, supposedly he was supposed to be on Carnival of Souls, and he was here and there, but we won't get, not Carnival of Souls, I beg your pardon, Psycho Circus.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he sang one song.
Yeah, and Peter, that's the only song on the whole record. That's a story for another day.
Exactly. All right. So number 6 to me, and of course this is going to happen for the rest of our list, but it's Foreigner 4. It's already been talked about, so the only thing I can add to it is that it was originally called Silent Partners, and it's called 4 because not only is it their 4th album, but prior to the album, they dropped to 4 members. Lou Graham, his vocals.
He's incredible.
He's still doing real good. He played in some little festival they do in Cancun this year, and he still sounds amazing. I mean, is he what he was once, long ago? No, but still incredible. But I won't go any further since who knows, it might be up there as well for others.
But that's another one like Journey where they found somebody to, I don't think he's as good as Lou, but neither is Lou. But the guy that Foreigner has singing with them now, he can belt him out.
Yeah,
he does a good job. But I would love to see them get back together again with the original lineup because I'm a sucker for that.
Absolutely. Okay, so Dongo, number 6 to you.
So my number 6 is a band that I think personifies the 80s, and it's the Cars, Shake It Up.
Oh, yes.
So, I mean, they had that sound that
they were
is
awesome.
Very 80s sound. Just good tunes that you can sing along to, and, they're
Amazing.
fun, and Shake It Up.
Yeah.
Nice.
11/6/81.
Nice. Okay, let's see. Number 5 then. We're up to 5 already. So do you, Kevin?
Number 5 for me is hands down my favorite album from this band. Started out as on a small label and then quickly got picked up. Leather Records was their original release, but Elektra picked them up. Motley Crue.
Yes, sir.
Live Wire, which is Too Fast for Love, sorry, which was just, it was everything. Again, talking about that, what was happening, that whole Sunset Strip attitude that was going on. It
was just the beginning of that.
Yeah, the glammy stuff that was happening. But that album is like, I'm looking at it and thinking about it, and every song on there was like, it was one of those ones where it was, the songs were not that long, and they went through them very quickly, and much like another band lead singer that I'm sure we'll talk about somewhere in the coming. as a young man, I remember thinking to myself, why didn't they wait till the lead singer cured his stuffed up nose before they recorded the album? I mean, obviously there was something else that was causing that nasal congestion at the time. But as a young man at 11 years old, I wasn't aware of
allergies will get you
the Peruvian
every single time. That
marching
pollen
powder. Yes. Especially when you put your face down to a plate of it.
The pollen was very white and
a lot of
pure
white
that year.
Yes, it was good. But no, great album, and I think it's better than anything. I mean, maybe the recording wasn't great, the sound wasn't perfect, but I would take that as a whole album over everything they did after that.
Yes. Great album. All right. So number 5 to you then, Mark.
Okay, this is Loverboy, Get Lucky.
Yes.
It was released on October 7th. So basically what I'm trying to say is in 82 was when a lot of us were hearing it. And that's the year I graduated from high school. Mm-hmm. And you know what this record reminds me of is me and Norm Godbout going fishing, like constantly. We would go
That's
down.
an old buddy of Mark's. Yep.
I miss him.
all of
Norm,
us.
I miss
Yeah.
you, man. I do, brother. But anyway, working for the weekend. When it's over, Take Me to the Top. I think it's my favorite song on that. I love the guitar sound. It was just like I mentioned with Styx for the 1981 class. This is the one that reminded me of my year graduating, and just a lot of good stuff, a lot of good guitar work, and for a Loverboy anyway.
Absolutely. Oh, awesome pick. All right, that brings me to my number 5, which, here we go again. High and Dry, Def Leppard. Just so incredibly raw. I love this album. There's not a whole lot I can say about it other than you, Donnie, singing Pour Some Sugar on Me at my brother David's wedding actually got me more into Def Leppard. Although I hate that friggin' song, but the title track, such a party song, and their gang vocals. I mean, they're just such a great band and such a great album, but we've already talked about it. They do have a song on there called No, 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 which is funny to me just because of the Kiss release later. Right. But anyway, Donnie, that's number 5 to you.
Number 5 is Genesis, Abacab.
Nice.
Again, I kind of go with the bands that are my antithesis of the 80s, like what reminds me of the 80s.
Of course.
And Genesis is one of those bands that they had hit after hit in the 80s.
They sure did.
They were awesome.
Phil Collins is an amazing songwriter and producer. It's kind of what he does now. He doesn't perform anymore, which is kind of too bad. But
Well, he was not too long ago. He was sitting in like a Costco office chair, like Eddie Trunk says. It's like they couldn't have gotten him a throne like they did Dave Grohl or Ozzy. They put him out there in a $40 friggin' Office Max chair. But anyway, yeah.
But the synthesizers were kind of like the in thing, and people would kind of gratuitously use the synthesizer, but they did it very well.
Big 80s.
Yeah.
The 80s.
Yeah.
Huge synth.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They were
but
awesome.
Phil was just a machine at that time because I mean, I don't want to pick it if somebody had a solo album the same year that was massive as well.
Exactly.
The thing that I find incredible is that Peter Gabriel leaves Genesis and they go from being a small prog rock band, relatively small prog rock band, to being a pop juggernaut. It was good pop. It wasn't bad pop. I mean, it
wasn't today's pop. That's for damn
for sure.
Right.
But it's just amazing. You're like, oh crap, Peter Gabriel, who was I just saw him last year, is a genius. And he leaves a band and what do you do? Well, let's have the drummer sing.
Okay. So Kevin, number 4.
Number 4, Moving Pictures from Rush.
Yes, sir.
I mean, you got to give it up to the world's greatest drummer, arguably, I guess.
Hands down.
But he
Hands
was.
down.
I say some people will argue that about Neil, and then the fact that he wrote, I think most, if not all, of the lyrics.
He's a huge writer of
His
Rush
his
songs.
stuff was just. I mean, lyrically, to be that great a drummer and lyrically, and then
a
you kind
genius.
of and then you kind of somewhere you overlook the bass player that sang and played keyboards. So,
So
you know what I mean? It's
Neil
just,
Peart would have fit right in on the Big Bang Theory.
No, he wouldn't have, but Neil Peart would have.
Neil Peart. Okay, Neil Peart. Neil Peart. Damn it.
Too funny. All right, my brother, number 4 to you.
One of my favorite Van Halen records, Fair Warning. I love that record. There's so many great songs on it. It's heavy. If you ever seen the album cover, I mean, it's pretty friggin' I don't know if I would say dark. I would say violent. There's somebody
Disturbing.
kicking somebody's head in, and the other guy's sitting there laughing. Which today, somebody gets beat up on the train, and everyone else is taking their phones and videotaping it instead of helping them. But I wasn't expecting to go on that rant. But
I love the rants.
You're right. Yeah, that was the final episode.
But
Good
anyway.
Samaritan Law.
It's, Mean Street. Bam, bam, bam. Dirty Movies. Hear about it later. Unchained. It's got Push Comes to Shove. So This Is Love. I mean, there's a lot of great songs on that. I mean, they did a lot of albums that had a ton of hits on them. I mean, Eddie Van Halen was gold with his guitars. I mean, he had David Lee Roth up there, basically saying how incredible he is. But I want to say something here important. Who is the best singer in the band at that point?
You want to take this one, Kev?
In the band at that point?
Yes,
I
the best.
sure know.
Bass player.
Michael
Anthony.
Anthony.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Much better voice than freaking David Lee. He didn't even sing.
All right, so this is a whole different episode, and I'll fight you to the death on this one.
Yeah, well, we're
David
going
Lee
to get
Roth
there,
was
I
not
think.
the lead singer. He was the front man.
Exactly.
And the
Good
ultimate
point, good
front
point.
man. Like I said, in reference to him doing a Kinks song. All my life, I never stopped to worry about a thing. Open up and shout it out and never try to sing.
Right. That's
Makes
him.
sense.
Nobody holds a candle to Diamond Dave.
There's a reference
I don't care.
behind.
All right, I apologize. I hope I didn't hurt any senses
not at all.
in your head.
Not at all. But everybody, you always read these. Oh, we was like Eddie, God bless him, talking about. And we had Sammy Hagar. We finally had a singer in the band. Yeah, and then everything sucked after
Yeah,
51.
David Lee Roth was an entertainer
Oh,
until he did his
absolutely.
talk show that lasted about 3.5 months because his ratings sucked.
I know.
He wasn't even that good. I used to listen to him on my way to work.
Oh no, but he just, I mean, the kick, you can't take the guy seriously. I mean, I don't think anybody.
He's a paramedic too. Did you know that?
He was an EMT for a time. Yes,
EMT.
yeah.
Mountain
I did not
climber
know
and
that.
Yeah.
jiu-jitsu master.
But the guy lived a life, but yet now you see him. He still seems like he's like unsure of himself. You know what I mean? He's like he just seems to be driven to prove himself to everybody. It's like, dude, no, you're the king.
I think he's insecure, but back in the
Absolutely.
day, he had more different lives than Forrest Gump. I mean,
Oh,
he
absolutely.
had so many talents. You know?
Mama told me prostitutes are like a box of chocolates. You got to pay more for the good ones.
So that's my number 4.
All
Really
right.
enjoyed that record.
Damn right. Well, my number 4 is been picked as I think the rest of mine are going to be, but that's Motley Crue's Too Fast for Love. Just friggin' ballsy. And I got to say, I'd be lying to you if I didn't think the movie The Dirt on Netflix had me go back and just look into it deeper. And fuck, when they kick in a live wire in the beginning and the girl's like, you're too good for this band or whatever she was saying. And then she's like, holy shit.
Is there an issue going on with Mick Mars in that band right now?
There is, but it's over with, I think. But
Is it because John Five's playing with him now, right?
yep, John Five
Is he?
now, and Mick just released a solo album.
Right.
It's all they're arguing over. Mick's not with us. I mean, obviously, he has his back issues that are brutal.
Right. But they were saying that he couldn't play, and he's saying he
saying
can play.
they were
and-
playing the tracks,
Right.
and
he didn't want to do that.
He always looked sickly, didn't he?
Well,
Oh, yeah.
he was.
Yeah,
He's had that since the 80s, really.
Oh,
Yeah.
Yep.
it's too
Poor
bad.
guy
Poor
can
guy,
barely
yeah.
fucking move. You know what I mean? But just, what's the song? And Frankie died. It was suicide, whatever it was. Just, was that onto the show? I can't remember, but
Yeah.
that's like a life story about, Nikki Sixx because he changed his name from Frankie. And I don't know. I just love that fucking album. It's kick ass. I like it better than Shout. And,
Yeah.
a lot of people go to Shout and say that's their, signature album. But for me, it's Too Fast for Love.
One of the greatest rock and roll quotes, in my opinion, was Tommy Lee. Man, we were shooting Jack Daniels. We could have just drank it. I mean, not a smart man.
All right. Dongo, number 4 to you.
Number 4 to me is 4 and a 4, and we've had this a lot. And The reason why I picked it up higher is because Jukebox Hero, like I'm a lover of the cheese songs, and some of my other ones that are coming up are some cheese songs, and I champion the rocking like song.
Oh,
so
hell
Jukebox
yeah.
Hero is just one of those, like, as a kid wanting to be a musician and hearing the lyrics to that, and
Nice.
yeah,
I can still see myself shooting the duck to it. I mean, at the roller rink. It's undeniable. That's for sure. All right, wow. Number 3. Okay, Kevin, number 3 to you.
Number 3 is already been spoken of. We are going back to Van Halen's Fair Warning, which is, it's interesting that it was the year that we picked and we're talking about it, but by far, and everybody kind of alluded to it, it is the Van Halen fans' album.
Oh, especially the guitar fans.
Oh, absolutely.
They all
It's
go to
just
that one.
so. It's. I think some of Eddie's finest work, without a doubt, and it's got that edge. And he did a great job with songs that were a little lighter, and Dance the Night Away and some of those songs. But this was just.
It was a prodigy.
It showcased how amazing he was.
Absolutely. Oh, all right. So that's to you then, Mark.
Okay, well, my number 3, I thought it would be higher, but mine is Journey, Escape. Again, this is at a time where this album was so massive. This is my first concert I ever went to in 81. I was working at Dexter Shoe, and it was at Portland, and obviously it was general admission. We actually... Our seats were the aisle stairs going up between the sections.
Yeah.
Been there.
And we didn't even care.
Nope.
It was jam-packed. I just can't articulate to you guys how big they were at this time.
Oh, yeah.
And if you can Google some of their Escape Tour footage, you'll see what I mean. But obviously, Don't Stop Believing. You want to talk about fatigue. That is the biggest fatigue song in the world. Stone in Love. But the biggest song back then was Who's Crying Now. That's the song that people freaked out at, or, well, the girls did. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But Escape is a great song. Escape is a great
Absolutely,
song.
yes.
That they played that. And Open Arms, I think, is a song that a lot of people forget is on that record, too. But
Oh, God, that's
yeah,
one of the biggest ballads ever.
Special place in my heart. First concert ever. They're not as heavy as what I'm typically into, but yeah. So that's my number 3. We've all talked about it a little bit.
Well, I have a feeling that could continue to happen. Although I finally get one that no one has said
Yeah,
yes,
no,
and
probably
I
gonna
won't go too crazy on it because I have a feeling, like I said, it's going to keep coming up. So my number 3 is Black Sabbath, Mob Rules. I can't say enough about this album. It's just, it's almost to me like a sister album,
What, to Heaven and Hell?
Exactly. And Sign of the Southern Cross. You want to talk about an epic song, an epic vocal. I love Ronnie anyway. I love his voice. Just absolutely incredible. And I think that is kind of, a takeoff of Children of the Sea, so to speak. Same type, but then you get Voodoo over and over. That last song is just another incredible Ronnie James Dio vocal. But
I should have been. I don't know why I didn't listen to this a lot when I was back in those days. I don't know why.
It gets overlooked a lot because of Heaven and Hell, but I think it's right up there with it. I'm still a Heaven and Hell guy, but this album is a damn close second.
Okay.
All right. Number 3 to you, Don.
All right, for number 3, keeping with my picking of the 80s sounding bands, is Hall & Oates, Private Eyes.
Nice.
I think they have more
consider
popularity now than they did then.
Yeah,
it just
because
seems
they're
like-
fighting.
By the way, they were great in concert. I had a blast at their concert.
Yeah, is that the one that got canceled and then redid?
They might have. I don't remember. We're talking
up
about mid
here in
80s.
Laconia, they did.
Oh no, I'm talking
Or
about back
Guilford.
in the probably 85 or 86.
But look, the guys can sing, they
Yeah. They're suing each other now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I'd want to hang out with them or anything.
Yeah, I think Daryl is one of the most soulful white guys.
Yeah.
that
I
is-
was
Which
gonna
one is
say
who?
that-
Daryl
The
Hall
mustache.
is the blonde guy that.
Oh, wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm backwards. I'm sorry.
And Oates is the Juan Epstein looking guy.
Exactly. The porn star.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that would sum it up pretty
Kind of
good.
reminds me of the Soul Glow guy and the Just Let Yourself.
Awesome. Great pick, Don. All right. Up to number 2, Kev.
All right, my number 2 is an album that nobody's ever heard of before, coming out of nowhere. It's a little band called Journey and their album Escape. We've talked about this quite a bit. It is just a fantastic album. It was massive. It was inescapable. It was everywhere. And like Mark said, some of the stuff that didn't get beaten to death, Don't Stop Believing, Who's Crying Now, and Keep on Running, Lay It Down, Dead or Alive, all great songs because they had that. There was the tension between what Perry and Kane were writing and what Neil Schon wanted to do as a hard rock guitarist. And I think that's what made the diamond that was that is you got, because Neil Schon was like, I think he was like 15, 16 years old playing with Santana.
Right.
You know, and so the guy had, I mean, talk about a pedigree. He was,
Unbelievable.
he was a guitar god.
All right. So that's number 2 to you then, brother.
And I'm so happy that I did not hear this one yet.
Oh, you fucker. It's going to be my next one. I
Yes,
think.
probably, but it's Ozzy Osbourne, Diary of a Madman. Randy Rhoads. This is his last album, right?
Yes. For
And
Randy, yes.
the first 3 songs. I mean, Over the Mountain. Yeah. Just kick-ass song. I there's a word I can't really come up with. It's just like almost like the tension is building throughout the song. And Flying High Again, not my favorite, but the song that I think pretty much typifies our life and our rock music fandom is You Can't Kill Rock and Roll. The song almost brings me to tears. I think basically, you and I and David and Donnie too, and I just met you, but anyway, it typifies everything we believe in, and it makes my heart just want to cry out of tears of just joy.
Absolutely. Oh, that's what's great about these albums is the way they touch you, Mark. And, that's what it's all about. Well, anyway, my number 2, might as well go to it. It's same thing, Diary. And I won't say much because God knows who else is going to have it. But I think you said it all, Mark.
Well, say it before they do.
Yeah. But for me, the title track is one of Randy Rhoads' greatest works. And I find it so haunting. It kind of creeped me out when I was a kid. It also put me, into, I don't know, a mode. Like I had a lot of problems, I moved and I was away when I was listening to this a lot. And I thought I was a little crazy then too.
Well, obviously
But anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, no, I mean, you were crazy then. I mean, I don't think anything's really changed, to be honest with you, but
All right.
So wait, the album was Diary of a Madman?
yeah, it was.
I always thought it was Dairy of a Madam. I totally Dairy of a Madam. I totally misread that.
Don't you think a bunch of freaking Holsteins were going to be on
Well,
the
that's what I
cover?
thought, yeah. Ozzy might have bit their heads off. We don't know.
Right. All right, Donald, number 2 to you.
So my number 2 is Journey Escape. So I mean we're in the repeat categories here.
I mean, this album was just so big; it was bound
No
to be on.
song. I'm a person who can't hear a song enough. Like songs don't get burned out with me.
You don't
so
get fatigued.
if Don't Stop Believing comes on the radio, I am turning up the volume and singing in my car and just going at it. So
Good for you.
And
I
Stone
wish
in
I
Love
could.
is another favorite of mine.
Which one?
Stone in Love. Yeah.
Great song. Yep.
Yep.
Oh, awesome. Well, here we are, man. We are up to our number 1. Let's see how many repeats we can have here. From below, I mean. But anyway, Kevin.
Numero uno. So I will tell you, I can guarantee that nobody else has this.
Oh, let's see.
So my number one is "You Are What You Is" by Frank Zappa.
Oh, I had a feeling somebody was going to have that.
So I had experienced Frank at that time, Peaches and Regala, some of the more radio friendly, if you could even describe any of Frank's music with that. So I knew who he was. I had an idea what he was about, but listening to "You Are What You Is," it really just, I was like, this guy looks at things the same way that I do, a little bit outside of the mainstream, and just kind of, he was a thinking kind of guy. He just looked at things differently. Like we talked about that with Ted Nugent, that he just had a different take on things. But he was also, a genius musician. I think this was the first one that Stevie Vai played on. There's an instrumental called "Theme from the Third Movement of Sinister Footwear."
Yeah, easy to say.
Easy to say, rolls right off the tongue. It's
You nailed it.
It's amazing, and you can tell that it's Stevie Vai.
Yeah.
He's it's basically have guitar will travel, that kind of guitar player.
Absolutely,
Like Jake E. Lee and
right. Great story about that. I think it was that tour or somewhere abouts when Vi first joined with him. He was very young, went out boozing the night before, got a bug. They were in Texas at one of the huge stadiums there. He said he was on stage. He was every orifice of his body was expelling things. He was vomiting. He had diarrhea, and he was just leaned up against an amplifier. And they just kept coming over and like emptying his bucket and whatever else. And he played the whole show because he just got a gig with Frank Zappa.
Right.
And you're not gonna,
You ain't giving that up.
you're not giving it up. And Frank was he was kind of an asshole when it comes to the band playing for him.
Yeah,
he didn't really give a lot of leeway to people. Well, it just made me think of one of the things, I don't know if any of you guys have seen the Laurel Canyon
Yes. Awesome.
Netflix.
Doc. Yeah.
I don't recall, but I don't think they mention it. All
That's
of
a
those
show
people, it's about like what was it,
Laurel
like
Canyon.
Laurel Canyon, where like the Byrds and a whole bunch of different bands from the '60s had moved to that area, and they all kind of,
rented
and they'd
housing.
walk over. Like Jackson Brown was living in an apartment downstairs from Don Henley and the Eagles and whatever else. But I don't think they mentioned in that. The reality was all of those people went to Laurel Canyon because Frank Zappa lived there.
Exactly.
Without Frank Zappa, there would be
Interesting.
no Alice Cooper.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
There wouldn't
Huge.
be so many bands, so many people got into it because of Frank and just followed him, but he just never got that. And I think purposefully, I think it was by intent that he never became a pop star because he had no interest in that.
Yep.
Very
Which is
interesting guy.
awesome.
And I would say that, again, his music isn't always that accessible. You Are What You is a fairly accessible album in terms of Frank Zappa. So if you haven't listened to him, I recommend checking that one out. He's always got a little bit of that
Dancing
humor.
Queen.
Yeah, so Dancing Fool, absolutely.
Dancing Fool.
Dancing Fool.
Queen. I'm
But-
getting mixed
no,
up.
that's okay. Well, that was ABBA, but
Dancing
close.
Fool.
Zappa, ABBA,
I don't know much about dancing. That's why I wrote this song. I saw that on SNL,
Yes.
believe it or not.
Yes. I Am the Slime. There you go. That's not on this album, but I Am the Slime from the video. You need to listen to that song and then think about where we are in society today
Right.
with television. He did that back in 70
Oh, yeah.
something.
Oh, yeah.
So absolutely great,
Man, I'll
great,
have to check it out.
great album with lots of different styles. There's everything from doo-wop to country to reggae on that album. So a great listen. And I will turn it over to you to Mark because I'm probably sure that's your next pick. No, I'm just kidding.
No.
All right. So yeah, number one to you, Mark.
Okay, my number one is the Wiggles' Jump and Squirm. Huge record back in 1981. I'm telling you, the 3-year-olds love it.
Oh boy.
Sorry.
I didn't expect the Wiggles.
All right, brother.
Sounded right.
What's your real number one?
That would be Rush Moving Pictures.
Yes, sir.
It is such a great record. Tom Sawyer, obviously. Fatigue. It's a Fatigue song. Red Barchetta is a great song.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
the bass, everything that Geddy Lee plays on bass sounds awesome. And of course, Neil Peart. Neil Peart with his 75 tom drum set back there. YMZ's a great song. Limelight. I mean, it's just great song after great song. And Rush, I wasn't a big fan of. I went to a concert back in 1994, I believe it was, with David and Bert from Creative Force, the only decent guy in the band.
20,000 other men.
There were a lot of men there, but there were some
didn't
women.
bring out the girls.
No.
Yeah.
Nope.
But I mean, I listened to it a little bit yesterday, and I'm like, song after song, or somewhat deep cuts a little bit. I mean, other than Tom Sawyer.
Yeah.
But, and if you look at, I mean, if you ever see them in concert, it looks like you're at a Dungeons and Dragons. I mean, the stuff they do put on the screen and everything. And
Oh, yeah.
so they would also fit in on Big Bang Theory.
I think the last tour, they just had a washer and dryer up there, and people would come up and swap over the laundry.
They actually, I think it was for a number of years they had that washer and dryer on
Really?
tour with them, and I can't remember why they said they did it. It was just something they
That'd be
needed something on stage, so they just let's do laundry.
That'd be
But,
interesting to
yeah.
look
No.
into.
Limelight, if that riff to Limelight doesn't get you right in the nards, then I don't. You're not alive.
No,
That's just-
exactly.
it's such a awesome opening riff there.
All right, that brings us to my number one. And here it is, of course. It's Van Halen, Fair Warning. Just another repeat here, but I feel a lot of the music that I love because of Van Halen wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Van Halen. I've said this before, but the run of 4 albums that they put out in a row are just spec-effing-tacular. I mean, I can't think of a run actually of 4 that were better, but just, it's been talked about, so I won't go into too much detail, and I'll let you go, Don. But one thing I want to say is Mean Street, the opening to that,
It's so
Eddie
powerful.
Van Halen's, guitar.
And it's just a power chord.
Nuno Bettencourt said he was on a cruise with a band that was doing a Van Halen cover. They were doing a set, and Nuno Bettencourt said he refused. That's the only song he wouldn't play because he cannot do the fucking intro.
Oh, the lead.
So if it's just a power chord, then it's a pretty damn amazing
all right, well, AJ, what
power
I mean
chord.
is that's one of my favorite parts of the song. So it comes out of that
I
lead.
thought you were saying it was simple.
Hell no! I'm talking about when he goes. Yeah.
I was
That's
talking
after the
about
solo.
the intro.
I know what you mean.
It's incredible, and I mean that's all I can say about it. I thought
It's
you
a
would-
power chord. That's all he does.
All I
Hell,
gotta say about that.
well, Nuno must suck then.
yeah, he's terrible.
Oh man! All right, Donald. Number 1 to you, birthday boy.
Olivia Newton-John. Let's get physical.
Nice.
No.
Above the
She was
Wiggles.
great. Hey, she something to look at.
I
no,
can
it's
see the
Ozzy,
video.
Ozzy Diary of a Madman.
Yes,
It's,
sir.
Randy Rhoads is my favorite guitar player. I love that album. There's not a bad cut on it, so that's
Yep.
that's all
I
I,
felt
gotta
bad.
say about that.
What more can we say, right?
We got.
Can you
I feel-
imagine if he had survived?
Yeah,
What? Because you think about all the classical stuff, which almost became like mandatory on a heavy metal hard rock album.
Right.
That we got to get out the 12 string and do it, and it was like that was
Thank you,
Randy.
Randy.
That brought that classical approach to guitar playing.
Do you know who he was a lead guitar player for? I didn't know this because I wasn't a huge Quiet Riot fan.
yeah,
Right.
yeah.
That's
I know,
crazy to think
yeah.
that.
All right. Well, that's why we're here, boys, to take everyone back to those decades that were just the greatest time ever. So thank all of you for being here. Donald, Kev, Mark.
Hey,
Thank you.
Thank you very much for having us.
Yeah,
brother.
of course.
And thank you,
course.
Kevin, for hosting
Kevin,
the
for
podcast.
hosting. Yeah.
My pleasure.
So
Can't wait to get out
anyway.
and shovel some more snow.
Yeah.
So-
Anyway, hope to do one real soon. And thank you so much, listeners, for joining us and coming on back to 1981 for a little album nostalgia. We'll see you next time.
You've been listening to Pastimes at 80s High. Our passion is the nostalgia from the 70s, 80s, and early 90s. When times were more simple, times were more fun.
Hey, bud, let's party.
And we weren't stuck in our phones all day.
Inconceivable.
We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, make sure to like, rate, and review. We'll be back soon, but in the meantime, you can send an email to pastimes@80shigh@gmail.com and hit the website at pastimes@80shigh.com. See you next time.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.